All right, so for this game, it looks like we have what is largely an in and out game. So we have a bunch of teachers that are going to be teaching at kind of one or this other school. So either they're teaching at the junior high or at the senior high level. Now, they do tell us that every single teacher is going to be teaching at exactly one or the other school, so it is a proper in and out setup. That said, though, there is another aspect to the game, which is that we also have to worry about languages. So each teacher is going to be associated with one language. Now, it's a bit inconvenient to use a second tier in an in and out game, so what we'll do is we'll keep track of the languages using subscripts. Now, the teachers themselves, we have KLM, NOP. And the elements, or at least the languages rather, are French, German, Russian. So we have F, G, and R. Now it's worth noting that they don't really give us any information on spacing. We don't know how many times, how many spaces are in each or one or the other school. But I guess that's part of the game. So from there, the rules. So the first rule tells us that any two of the teachers who teach at the same school can't teach the same language as each other. So in other words, I guess we just can't have the same language twice in a given school. Although that does kind of put a pretty heavy limitation there, doesn't? Because we only really have 3 languages to work with. So arguably speaking, in terms of spacing, that does kind of mean then that there's not really any way to have more than 3 people on either side, right? Because if you have 4 people, if you have 4 teachers on the junior high side, then something's going to have to give. There's going to be an overlap. 2 of those teachers are going to have to teach the same language, which means that the most we can have on either side is just 3. But we have 6 people. So if we have 6 people in the game, and we can only have 3 people on either side, essentially we'll have to have 3 people on either side, right? Because if you go any less than that, if one side gets 2 people, then the other side gets 4, and that's not going to work. So we can actually resolve the exact spacing setup. There will be exactly 3 people on. In fact, wait a minute, we can take another step, because that means that these 3 on each side have to be 3 different languages. We can't have any overlap on languages, right? So essentially, each side is going to have 1 of each. There's going to be 1 French, 1 German, 1 Russian on both sides of the board. For the record, at this point, if you wanted to do a slightly different setup, and if you wanted to use these as kind of a 3-tiered setup, so you would do something like basically J, S, and then for each side you would have 1 for F, 1 for G, 1 for R. That's actually not unreasonable, because that's kind of what's happening here. Each of these 2 is going to have 1 F, 1 G, 1 R, and it's nice to be able to see them together. The Fs are together, the Gs are together, the Rs are together. To be fair, from the get-go, you probably would not have been thinking in that direction, so there's a good chance you'd still end up going with this setup. But if it did come to mind that, hey, wait a minute, maybe it's better to go in this direction, that's not unreasonable. In fact, this is arguably a slightly better setup than what we have on the board. We'll still go with what we have on the board just because, again, chances are that's what you would have leaned into, and 99 times out of 100, when you get into the rules, you're probably not going to end up changing your setup. But again, if the thought crossed your mind, this would have been an entirely reasonable kind of move. Anyways, next. The second rule, K teaches at the same school as L, so K and L are going to have to be together, which means that they're definitely going to be different languages. Next, L teaches the same language as M, which effectively, I guess that means that if L and M are teaching the same language, they're not going to be in the same school, and they'll be teaching the same thing. So I guess we can say that M is going to be on the other side, whatever that might be. And let's take this a step further. We can say that L and M, yeah, we can subscript them to have the same language. Next, we are told that N is going to teach Russian. Cool. And O teaches French. So O is going to be doing the French. All right, so I guess we still don't know much about the sides, to be fair, one way or the other. Actually, wait a minute. there's only 2 of each language, right? So there's 2 Frenches, 2 Gs, 2 Rs, which means that if N is teaching Russian, then L and M are not, right? Because then they couldn't be. That would be 3 people teaching the same language. Likewise, they can't be speaking French either, because if O is speaking French, then L and M cannot be. So we can actually take yet another step here. We know that L and M, the shared language has to be German. They can't be teaching Russian. They can't be teaching French, which means we can kind of reserve a placeholder on both sides on the German position for either L or M. All right, cool. Now, in terms of N and O, I guess they could still go either way. There's not really any restriction on which side's which. Wherever the L goes, obviously you'll have K, but that only goes so far. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at the questions. Question number 12. Which of the following could be true? Answer choice A, K teaches the same language as M. Well, no, because we know that L and M are already teaching the same language as each other, so that's definitely not going to work. Next, L and O teach the same language, and again, no, we know L and M are the pair that are together, both teaching German. Next, K and M are teaching at the same school. Could we have K? Well, no, because we know that K is with L and they're in a different school from M, so that definitely could not work. Next, K, N, and O are at the same school as each other. And no, that would add up to 4 because we already have KL. We can't also have NO there, so that wouldn't work. Answer choice E, M, N, and O teach at the same school as each other. And maybe, yeah, you could have, there are 3 different languages. And yeah, there's nothing stopping them from being at the same school. So the best answer choice for question number 12 is E. Next, question number 13. If O and P are both at the junior high, well, okay, let's play that out. If O and P are both at the junior high, first of all, we know that O is going to be teaching French, so that's a good start. O is going to be here. And P, I mean, we know that the German's already reserved for one of L or M, which means that P is going to have to be speaking Russian over here. But that also means that K and L, they can't really go into the junior high, so this is going to be M speaking German here, which means that L is speaking German on the other side with K. And who else? Oh, N. N is still in play, except we know N is the one talking in Russian. So N is going to go here, and that leaves us with K, who's going to be speaking French. So to the question now, which of the following now must be true? A, K speaks German. They do not. Answer choice B, K speaks Russian. They do not. Answer choice C, P speaks Russian. And they do. Best answer here is answer choice C for question number 13. For the record, just in case, K teaches at the junior high. Nope, they're currently at the senior. And E, M teaches at the senior high. And no, they're currently at the junior. So once again, best answer is C. Next. Question number 14. If L and N are both at the junior high, well, I guess once again, let's play this out. If L and N are at the junior high, well, first of all, we know L is the German speaker, so that's kind of nice. And then N we know has to speak in Russian, so N is going to be over here, which means that K, who has to go with L, is naturally going to be the French teacher. Now, on the other side of this, we have M, who has to speak German, that much we know. And who's left? We have O. O has to speak French permanently, so that goes here. And then we just have P, who is going to be the Russian speaker. Nice. So to the question, which of the following now must be true? Answer choice A, K speaks French. Hey, there it is. K does, in fact, speak French. That's convenient. Just in case, let's take a look at the rest. K speaks Russian, and no, they speak French. Answer choice C, P speaks French, and no, P is speaking Russian. Answer choice D, M is at the junior high. No, they're at the senior. And O is at the junior high. No, they're at the senior. So once again, the best answer here was A. Next, number 15. If M, N, and P are all at the senior high, all right, so if we have M and P, well, first of all, we know M is going to be German, so that's a good start. And we know N is Russian, so that takes care of that, which means that if they're there with P, P is going to be the French speaker. And on the other side, we know that L, as usual, speaks German. O is still in play, so O is going to have to be the French speaker since that's permanent. And that leaves us with K, who is going to be doing the Russian. Nice. The question asks, which of the following now must be true? Let's go. Answer choice A, K does French. Nope, K is doing Russian. Answer choice B, K does Russian. There it is. Best answer to question number 15 is B. Just in case, L speaks Russian, and no, in fact, L never speaks Russian. L has to be German. P speaks German, and no, currently P is speaking French. And answer choice E, P speaks Russian, and no, P is currently speaking French. So once again, best answer was B. Next, question number 16. If N's at the same school as O, so if N and O are together, I suppose what does that tell us? Well, we know that these guys, we know their languages already. N's speaking Russian, O is speaking French, and they need a German speaker. And it can only really be M because L carries K with them. So that means that this is going to be M over here, who is speaking German with them. Now, we still don't really know which side they're on. In fact, there's nothing really to differentiate the two different sides. But I guess what we do know, nevertheless, is that on the other side, we're going to have L speaking German. We're going to have K with them. And who's left? We have P. And I suppose K and P, we don't have anything on languages. So let's go. The question asks, which of the following pairs of teachers must be together? All right, let's go. K and N, and no, they are definitely separate. K and O, they are separate. L and O, they are separate. M and O, they are together. There we go. Best answer here is D for question 16. Just in case though, O and P, and no, they're still separate. Lastly, question number 17. If P teaches at the junior high and does not teach French. So if P is junior and he's not teaching French, well, we know that he's definitely not teaching German because that's reserved, which means that P is going to have to be teaching Russian at this point. Can we do much more? Oh, actually, yeah, we can, because N is also speaking Russian, which means that he's not going to be at the junior high. He's going to have to be on the other side. Now, O still speaks French, still on either side potentially. I guess, yeah, you could have the K and L on either one of these two sides, and then the remainder, whoever's left, we have O and M are going to be on the other side. So I guess that's flexible. Let's take a look. The question asks, which of the following must be true? Answer choice A, K teaches, well, we don't know K's language right now, so that doesn't have to be true. L teaches German. That's true, but we don't know what side. It doesn't have to be the senior high school. Answer choice C, M teaches German. Again, that's true, but we don't know where. We don't know that it's the junior high school. Answer choice D, N teaches Russian at the senior high school. And yep, there it is. N is definitely teaching Russian at the senior high school. Best answer is D.